Mid-range devices nowadays are starting to have features and specs that a couple of years ago were only available in flagship smartphones, like fast charging technology, almost bezel-less displays, and a 100 megapixel camera. What if I was to tell you that those features are now available on a sub 15,000 peso smartphone? What up guys, Miguel here of Yugatech, and today we will be checking out Honor's latest device in the mid-range space, the Honor X8a. Right off the bat, we can definitely say that we are a fan of the design of the Honor X8a. It kind of reminds us of flagship smartphone designs from a particular company. Not that it's a negative thing, but rather a convenient one, as it feels very ergonomic in the hands, especially for small to medium-sized hands thanks to its squared-off frame. We're seeing more and more smartphones jumping on this trend, and we're glad Honor took this route with the Honor X8a. Although the body isn't made out of high-grade aluminum, it feels sturdy and rigid. At the back, we have this matte textured finish that sparkles when it hits the light, although we here in the office kind of have a love and hate relationship with this kind of material. Sure, it looks cool, but when rocking it naked, it's a fingerprint magnet and it's very hard to clean. Aside from that, we can find the triple camera module along with some Honor branding at the back. In front, we have a 6.7-inch display with a punch hole cutout for the selfie camera. We really like the bezels on this device, which are noticeably thin from the sides to the top of the display. Although, due to that slick, asymmetrical bezel trend we see from smartphones nowadays, it is worth mentioning we still have a thicker chin on this device, which isn't really that bothersome when using for prolonged periods. For I/O, on the left side, we have the dual SIM card tray with no micro SD card slot expansion, while we have the side-mounted fingerprint scanner that doubles as the lock button and volume rocker on the right, and a secondary microphone up top, while down at the bottom we have the speaker grills, USB Type-C port, and the primary microphone. Generally, we love the overall look of this device. It looks minimalist but chic and modern at the same time. The only complaint we have is the matte textured back panel, as it attracts fingerprints pretty easily, and I guess since we are nitpicking, the chin on the display too. For display, the Honor X8a packs a 6.7-inch IPS panel with a resolution of 2388 by 1080, capable of producing 391 pixels per inch, and with a refresh rate of 90 Hz. Since this is only an IPS panel, you won't get the vividness and deep blacks you would get on an OLED display. This isn't to say that the display on the Honor X8a isn't any good, but obviously there are other smartphones in this price range that come with an OLED panel and even 120 Hz refresh rate. On a positive note, we didn't encounter any issues when using this device for media consumption, but the backlight can ruin a dark scene when watching videos, especially if you're more used to the deep blacks on an OLED. We didn't have any trouble using this device under direct sunlight. Text was very legible and sharp. You can set the display refresh rate to standard, which is 60 Hz, high, which is 90 Hz all the way, or dynamic, which juggles between 60 to 90 Hz depending on your activity to save battery life. For the speakers, we aren't a fan of the sound quality on the Honor X8a, as it sounds tiny and unbalanced. Not to mention, we only have a mono speaker setup here with no headphone jack either, so it might be better to use wireless earbuds for more focused media consumption sessions. For performance, the Honor X8a packs a MediaTek Helio G88 processor coupled with a Mali G52 MC2 GPU. The unit we have is at the top-of-the-line configuration with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage. You can also get the Honor X8a with 6 gigs of RAM instead of 8 for cheaper. Using it as a semi-daily driver, answering calls and emails, downloading large files for work, editing photos in Lightroom, and even casual gaming, we are actually surprised that the Honor X8a handled all of that pretty well. Although with too many apps running in the background, you may find some quick stutters here and there considering the chipset it's rocking. When it comes to playing graphically intensive games such as PUBG, Asphalt 9, and Genshin Impact, at maximum graphic settings, we got an average of 38 to 49 frames per second. Pretty usable, but for long periods of time, we've experienced stutters here and there, as well as slight overheating, which leads to throttling. For those interested in benchmark scores, flashing them on screen now. Overall, the Honor X8a passes as a productivity tool good enough for gaming. We recommend playing at low to medium graphics for a much more optimal gaming experience. When it comes to its cameras, we have a triple camera setup that consists of a 5-megapixel ultra-wide, 2-megapixel macro, and finally, the star of the show, a 100-megapixel main sensor, comboed with a 16-megapixel sensor for selfie. We highly appreciate how the images came out from the Honor X8a. To be honest, we didn't really expect anything this good. Color reproduction looks nice, details are present, and there's a lot of post-processing going on, which we think is a plus in this case. Although we did notice some images coming out a bit too cool than we liked. Ultra-wide shots, on the other hand, can be a bit hit or miss. There are shots when it produces an okay quality image, but there are instances where the image looks very washed out with no details at all, making it look very soft. Same goes for the macro lens. Yeah, it is fun to see little things up close, but if you don't really use it that often, we would have wanted to have a telephoto lens here for nicer portrait shots. And speaking of portrait shots, we do have portrait mode here as well. And it does a decent job in separating the subject from the background. For night mode, using the main camera is okay, nothing we haven't seen before. It can slightly brighten up a dark environment, but there really isn't a night and day difference compared to the default shooting mode. Same goes with the night mode using the ultra-wide lens. Some shots are okay for social media use, but some really aren't making the cut. Now, using the full 100-megapixel sensor, things might change a little bit for the main camera. Using the whole 100-megapixel resolution, you can digitally reframe your compositions without sacrificing too much on quality. Just don't expect to have absolutely better image quality in this mode. We do think it's worth mentioning that images do look a tad bit sharper compared to the default shooting mode. For video, you can record up to 1080p at 30 frames per second with no optical or electronic image stabilization, so expect shaky videos all the way. Unless you have a very steady hand. The Honor X8a runs on Android 12, skinned with Honor's Magic UI 6.1 on top. The UI looks very familiar if you've tried using a Huawei device. The only difference is that you have access to all Google apps like YouTube, Gmail, Maps, and alike. Surprisingly, aside from Honor's tools like File Manager, Ride Mode, and Mirror, there is little to no bloatware at all, making the UI really clean right out of the box. There's not a lot of customization options available, which in my opinion is okay, as we like to have a clean and minimalist UI. But if you want to fully personalize your device, we might suggest you to download a launcher with the likes of Nova Launcher to take advantage of this device's screen real estate. For battery, the Honor X8a has a 4500 mAh capacity with 22.5 watts of supercharge. Juicing up this device from 0 to 50% took us a little over 30 minutes, which is typical. Using the Honor X8a for occasional gaming and browsing under Wi-Fi, we can clearly say that this device can last even up to 1.5 days of very light to moderate usage. But if you find yourself a heavy user, we are glad to report that the Honor X8a can last a full day of use with mobile data turned on and with some casual gaming and heavy multitasking. In our proprietary video loop test, the Honor X8a got a score of 14 hours and 12 minutes. While in PCMark's Work 3.0 battery test, we got a score of 6 hours and 44 minutes. In our book, these are decent results. In conclusion, the Honor X8a can be a compelling smartphone in the mid-range segment. The weakest point we see is actually with its display, as it falls behind some of its competitors. But all things considered, we can recommend this device to people who want a smartphone with a decent main camera, reliable when it comes to its battery and performance, without sacrificing a big budget. Alright, it's time for price.
From March 14 to 24, the Honor X8a will be available for pre-order for only 10,990 pesos for the 8 plus 128 gig variant with free Honor earbuds worth 1,590 pesos via all Honor kiosks and partner online stores like Lazada, Shopee, and the TikTok shop.
So, what did you guys think of the Honor X8a? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to smack that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that bell icon so you get notified of our future uploads. Be sure to visit yugatech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Again, this has been Miguel, and I will see you in the next one.